Say hey.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me, where's my lower third? Please call me Sully. I'll find my lower third later. I have been a baseball podcaster. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and I am now in my sixth full season here as a host on the Locked On Podcast Network. And it is, we're recording this on Juneteenth, and I am, I put the wrong background on here. Give me a second here, folks. I'm recording this on Juneteenth, and today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 sports book, and with more than $5 million, it is the most fun and best way to get in on the action for your daily fantasy needs. So, PrizePicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. As you can tell, I'm in a different place than I normally do. I'm actually I'm recording this in a library in Palo Alto. And slightly different background. This is not going to be a permanent situation, different microphone, different setup, but we're doing a live. I could not afford to do I cannot do I couldn't skip today. And obviously Jeff Cohen says, we lost a giant in every sense of the word. Yes, listener, Andrew AJT is doing it live. I will talk on tomorrow's episode about the Mets. I do not owe them an apology. I remain steadfast that they should use this as an opportunity to rebuild. Watch tomorrow's show. I'm going to be talking about the fact that I'm still right. The Mets should be rebuilding and taking advantage of the situation. I owe nobody an apology, Andrew AJT, but this is the wrong day for that because my goodness, I just did a tribute to Willie Mays at Willie Mays Field in Menlo Park just the other day. And it was this week. This week, they're going to be going to Birmingham, Alabama to play tomorrow for the Willie Mays game at Rickwood Field. And I've been saying back when I had Bob Kendrick on from the National Negro Leagues Museum, I said this when I had Vanessa Ivy Rose on based upon one of our chats of the Negro Leagues. It was just saying, come on, Willie. We all knew he wasn't going to be able to physically be there. The man's been living in an assisted living facility here in Palo Alto for a while. We know his health has not been great, but I just wanted him to be alive when the game and his tribute was there. In an odd way, I can't tell whether it's appropriate or not because we're all mourning the loss of Willie Mays at age 93 on the eve of the game in Birmingham. And so maybe, just maybe, the fact that he's fresh on everyone's mind is going to be a fitting tribute to Willie. Maybe the fact that he's on everyone's mind is going to work out in the long run. But I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that on the week that that the game was going to be played, that he is gone. By the way, I want to point out a couple of things. He's 93 years old. He was 93 years old when he died last night. May we all live a life that when you get to age 93 and you pass away, or, if you die at age 93, people's reaction is, oh no. I remember that happened with Betty White when she died at age 99. And there's somebody who's like, oh no, what happened? She was 99. He's 93 and he's been in terrible health. And so may we all live a life that 93 years old is being taken away too soon. I have here the Daily Post, which is the newspaper that they release daily here in Palo Alto, which is where Willie died. He had lived in Atherton, just a couple of towns away. But you're going to see a lot of tributes to him today. They're going to be listing his stats. They're going to be listing his legacy. They're going to be listing all sorts of things about him. And it almost doesn't do justice. I mean, his stats are unbelievable. The 660 home runs, more than 3,000 hits. All those years he batted 30-30. All those years he would have double digits and triples. He would have great stolen base totals. And when you consider the fact that his numbers are as outstanding as they were, and he missed I mentioned this the other day, he missed 2 years of his prime for serving in the military. So he easily would have had 700 home runs. He also, when the Giants shifted from New York to San Francisco, he went from a homer-friendly ballpark, which was the Polo Grounds, to a stadium which was terrible for home runs, which was Candlestick Park, by the way the winds were blowing and everything. And the man adjusted his swing. He adjusted his swing so he wasn't pulling home runs, but more of his home runs went to right center field because he saw that's where you can hit the home runs. He also had these unbelievable stats, but a lot of times would stop at first on what looked like a surefire double. Do you know why? He knew if he was at second base, they'd walk McCovey. And so he wanted to make sure McCovey had pitched to hit. And you look at that lineup. I mean, you had you had McCovey in that lineup. You had Cepeda in that lineup. You had any combination of Alou brothers in that lineup. And you still had Willie Mays hitting the home runs, driving it in, playing unbelievable defense. As I mentioned the other day, his arm was so strong, Milwaukee wanted to make him a pitcher. And I am completely convinced that had Willie Mays wanted to be a pitcher, he would have been a 20-game winner. I'm completely convinced of that. He was, by all metrics, the greatest player of all time. And someone who just, when you talk to the people who saw him play, the smiles that people would have on their face, the joy they would bring on their face. And, Jeff Cohen, who's an everyday Sully, says he was the only 6-tool player as he made his mind as well as his physical tool. Yeah. And Jeff also wrote, my dad and grandfather took me to Shea Stadium in May of 1972 to see Willie Mays play with my own eyes. I was 10. There you go. And I mentioned the other day, the day that Willie Mays hit the home run, his first home run as a Met to beat the Giants, that was the day I was born. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because the fact that his death means so much to me, and I have absolutely zero memory of the man playing. He didn't play in my lifetime, really. I mean, barely my lifetime, but I'm a huge baseball fan. I wasn't that big a fan when I was born. But what he means, beyond the stats, beyond the numbers, the link that he means to not even just me personally, but to all of baseball, this is a major, major piece of baseball that we are losing. And I do not want to take this for granted. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. And as always, exclusions apply. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It's the most fun and easy way to get in the action and watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats, and you can have a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Hey, I hope some of you bet more than on Tatum. I hope some of you bet more than on Brown with the Celtics finally winning that championship. There you go. I hope some of you made some really good money on the NBA and do what? Maybe make some good money. Maybe Edmonton has got to push it to 7 games. Anyway, with PrizePicks, you can turn $10 to do $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You make a PrizePick lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more than or less than a 2 to 6 player stats and projections. You're locked in. And you can win 100 times your money with baseball-only lineups of PrizePicks if you submit a winning lineup using 4 Demon Squares. You'll cash in big time in the biggest moments here in the first half of the baseball season. Just download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. Do you know what it is? It's really that easy. Hey, where is your hub for getting all your sports news? Where do you turn to for the best takes, for the best analysis, and for the best news in all of sports? What I recommend you go to is head on to Locked On Sports Today. It's the first ever national sports streaming channel, and it's available to you every day on YouTube and on the free Amazon Fire TV app. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news from the Locked On crew. That's right, Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. By the way, in the comments, I'm using a different microphone today, so if you can hear me well, just throw me a message in the comments that you can hear me. I am doing this live. Hey, Carlos Ortiz is here. I know Carlos is a fan of the show. Rest in peace, Willie Mays. Exactly. As Jeff Cohen pointed out, he was one of the smartest players of all time. He did so many head games. Things like he would flail at a pitcher's curveball to make him think he couldn't hit it. And then the pitcher would try to throw it again, and he would clock it out of the ballpark. He also knew when to go on a pass ball. He knew how to take that extra base, and he knew how to decode signs from second base. But I'll tell you the other thing. Willie Mays was our oldest living Hall of Famer. Now it's Luis Aparicio. And let's honor Luis Aparicio and Sandy Koufax and Carl Yastrzemski, some of the other older Hall of Famers who let's honor people while they're alive. I'm glad Henry Aaron got his due when he was alive. I'm glad that Willie Mays got his due when he was alive. And Willie was going to get his due on the game tomorrow. But there's a link that Willie Mays being alive gave us a link to many different parts of baseball history, many different parts of the legacy of baseball, that his death is a reminder of the fact that the illusion that baseball has of existing in the past, present, and future simultaneously is indeed an illusion. The post-war years and the integration of baseball came about the legendary trio of center fielders in New York, Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. And Mickey Mantle, who was my mom's favorite player, she grew up a big Yankee fan. Mickey was in the World Series, was a big World Series hero. Duke Snider was the Dodgers, and he had a great Hall of Fame career. And then you had Willie Mays, who exploded on the Giants scene after the Red Sox, of course, didn't sign him because he wasn't their kind of player. May we take Tom Yawkey's plaque out of the Hall of Fame and melt it down, please? But that trio is now all gone. You also have lost another critical connection to the Negro Leagues, which is part of the reason for the game in Birmingham and part of the reason for the integration of the stats, which I'm glad Willie was alive to. I don't know how much he was able to perceive, but that he was alive for when it happened. And that connection to an era that was segregated, and how many of the great players have been the Willie Mays, the Frank Robinson, the Ernie Banks, the Elston Howards, the Henry Aarons, the Don Newcombs, the Larry Dobies. How many of them were kept out of the game and reside in this sort of alternate universe baseball that took place in the days of segregation? Willie Mays was a reminder of that, and a living reminder of that. He was a living reminder of the glory times of baseball in New York, as I said, of the three teams, the Dodgers, Yankees, and Giants, and the only era, the only decade where all three of those teams won a World Series title. Yankees in 53, Giants in 54, Dodgers in 55, and yes, Jonathan Curran, Yankees again in 56. But that connection is now gone. The connection here in the Bay Area of the introduction of Major League Baseball. By the way, do you know how close we came to Willie Mays being a beloved figure in Minnesota? The Giants were this close to moving to Minneapolis, and it was only because the Dodgers intercepted the LA City Council and decided to not move to Queens, but to move to Los Angeles instead of the Washington Senators. They needed a second Major League Baseball team to move to the West Coast, and it turned out to be the Giants. And Willie Mays would have played in the homer-friendly Metropolitan Stadium. My God, he would have hit 800 home runs. And the folks in Minneapolis like, oh, yeah, Willie Mays, he was a good player. Yeah. Would have been there in Minneapolis. But no, came to here in the Bay Area, and he became, well, at first the Giant, San Francisco fans didn't warm up to him immediately because he kept talking about, how much he loved New York. Believe it or not, he wasn't immediately embraced here. But then, do you know what happened? They kind of sort of watched him and said, yeah, he's not bad. And he became the legend. And if you want to write a letter to the Giants, you write to 24 Willie Mays Plaza. He was a connection that connected us from the baseball of segregation to the present day with his godson, Barry Bonds. And say what you want about Barry Bonds, but he had a connection to Mays. And the sense that he had a connection to 70s baseball and 50s baseball. He spanned that era. And I was born at a frustrating time in a way, that I was born at a time when Henry Aaron had just retired, that Frank Robinson had just retired, Clemente passed away, died in the plane crash, Mays had just retired. So this great sort of Mount Rushmore of greatness that dominated the 50s and 60s, I just missed seeing them. And I would hear about how great they were. And losing that connection is something that is critical. It's a genuine loss of an era of baseball that Willie Mays was a living connective tissue for. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get through this next segment. I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try to go through this next segment. In fact, I got to read about life insurance policy. Yes, my mother is a sensible woman, Jonathan Curtis. He grew up a big Yankee fan. I may have to talk a little bit about life insurance because I may not be able to get through this next segment. Now, Policygenius. Do you know what Policygenius is? Policygenius is the leading online marketplace for life insurance. I'm 52, so approximately 1/3 of my life is over, and I need to have peace of mind in case something happens to me. I have life insurance to provide for my family. Policygenius is where to go. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. And some of them have you avoid those exams and have you able to be approved right away. Life could be unpredictable, and Policygenius can take away some of the worries of what your family would do if something happened. Policygenius gives you unbiased advice from licensed expert support. They have no incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot come from customers who found the best fit for their needs came from Policygenius. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description below and get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. All right, we're going to talk about, first we talked about death. Now we're going to talk about taxes. Death and taxes. We should have Locked On Death and Taxes, shouldn't we? Well, here at Locked On MLB, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news of Major League Baseball, whether it's the offseason, the draft, or the playoffs. It's year-round. But do you know who else is year-round? Collection seasons. We should have Locked On collection seasons. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS is going to stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wage, levy your bank accounts, even seize your properties. Don't let the IRS target you. Let licensed professionals at tax expert Tax Network USA go to bat for you. Hey, I've worked for a lot of different kind of media companies where some of them pay you in cash or some of them pay you in 1099s where there's no taxes taken out. Let me tell you something. If I didn't have someone like Tax Network USA on my side, I would get absolutely snowed come April 15th. They keep an eye out for you, and they make sure you're not in a position where the collections people come on knocking. They've got over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. Tax Network USA have saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes or have complicated matters that require tax planning, like some of the media companies I work for, do you know what? You got to go to Tax Network USA. Call 1-800-549-1000. Visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in the episode below. That's Tax Network USA. Let's avoid the IRS. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has begun the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's available on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV app. Check it out for all the best sports news, takes, and ever. Locked On Sports Today. I see there's a bunch of people in the live chat, and that's really great. A lot of people, Jeff Cohen reminds us, Willie Mays was a major figure in the civil rights movement after Jackie Robinson retired. He was a peacemaker and helped bring people together. That's right. Deep breath. He was my dad's favorite player. My dad grew up Easy Sully. My dad grew up a Giant fan, going to the Polo Grounds. And he saw Willie Mays in his prime. And later, when we moved to the Bay Area, my dad became the biggest San Francisco Giant fan in the world. And my dad and I watched a lot of games with Bonds, his godson. And you know what? Say what you want about Bonds. If you're going to say bad things about Bonds, go ahead. But let me put a middle finger in your face right now, because he gave my dad a lot of happiness. And my dad kept saying, man, it's like he's almost as good as Willie. He's almost as good as Willie. And whenever I saw Willie, whether it was at a game where he was waved to the fans, or they would show clips or would show highlights, and or when he congratulated Bonds for passing him on the list and everything, there was always that connection with my dad. Should not have done this live, Sully. Shouldn't have done this one live. So I knew that I was going to be a blubbering wreck on Thursday, no matter what, because of what Willie meant to my pop and what that meant to me. And I feel like I lost him again. Should not have done it live, Sully. So, anyway, I think you get the picture. This is why baseball isn't just stats. It can't be reduced to a number. It can't be reduced to a sense of, well, this number's better than this. It's a connection. And the illusion of those connections are real. And it's funny, I just got back from Cooperstown. And the reason that the Baseball Hall of Fame is in Cooperstown is based on something that isn't real. Baseball was not invented in Cooperstown anymore than it was invented on Mars. And yet the fact that it's there and the illusion of it being there and having some connection there is important. And the illusion that there is still a connection to the past is important. And when you lose it, you lose something real. And it's beyond numbers. And this is me being, an old grumpy man saying, I don't care about the numbers of my day. I don't care. My day, it's just when you get the reminders that it is an illusion, it's a gut punch, especially when we're on the verge of a day in celebration. I better not say anything else, because how am I going to sell PrizePicks if I'm blubbering? So, do you know what? Watch the game. And I don't know what you believe in. I don't care what you believe in. But maybe you need those illusions too. But hug those who are still alive. Celebrate those who are still alive. And play ball. So go to Locked On MLB Pods. We should have had a Kleenex sponsor for today. And all that other crap. This has been Locked On MLB. I have been your blubbering host, Paul Francis Sullivan. I'm thinking of a friend of mine named Malone. And you can call me Sully.